Had you read Valley of the Dolls before you were cast?
I had.
Did you all of Jennifer?
Well, out of all the characters in the book, that was the one that I loved.
The talent to get to the top.
And I'll make it grow.
In 1969, all of America was left in shock after hearing the horrifying news that a young, beautiful, pregnant actress had been brutally murdered inside her own home. Her name was Sharon Tate, a symbol of beauty who once appeared across countless Hollywood magazine covers. A woman whose soft and innocent charm stood out in an era filled with chaos and excess in the American film industry. But overnight, her name became forever linked to one of the most terrifying crimes of the 20th century. Even today, many people remember Sharon Tate only as a victim. But few truly know that behind the tragedy was a life filled with strange moments, haunting signs, and secrets Hollywood never wanted the public to see. How did a shy girl from a strict military family become the rising star that Hollywood could not stop talking about? What was really happening behind the closed doors of Sharon Tate's seemingly perfect marriage to director Roman Polanski? And perhaps most chilling of all, was Sharon's tragic fate somehow foretold long before that night? This is not simply the story of a murder. It is the story of a young woman who believed in love, fame, and the promise of Hollywood dreams, before everything slowly turned into a nightmare no one would ever forget. Sharon Marie Tate was born on the 24th of January, 1943, in Dallas, Texas, into a disciplined military family constantly on the move. Her father, Colonel Paul James Tate, served as an intelligence officer in the United States Army. Because of his work, the family relocated frequently, moving from Texas to Washington, and eventually across several cities throughout Europe. Before turning 16, Sharon had already lived in at least 6 different cities. On the surface, that kind of life may have seemed exciting. But deep inside, it left Sharon carrying a quiet sense of loneliness throughout her childhood. She struggled to build friendships, and whenever she finally grew close to someone, it was time to leave again. Her family described Sharon as shy, introverted, and lacking confidence. Sharon herself later admitted that many people mistook her silence for coldness. But in reality, it was simply a shield, protecting an extremely sensitive soul. Still, there was one thing nobody could ignore. Sharon Tate possessed a beauty that made people stop and stare. Even as a child, she attracted attention wherever she went. At only 6 months old, Sharon won the title of Miss Tiny Tot of Dallas. Yet unlike many Hollywood families, her parents never pushed her toward fame or the entertainment industry. Her early years remained relatively quiet until 1959. At the time, Sharon was living in Richland, Washington, and had just turned 16. She entered a local beauty pageant and unexpectedly won the title of Miss Richland. That moment changed everything. For the first time in her life, Sharon realized that her presence alone could capture people's attention. But interestingly, Hollywood was still not her dream at the time. Sharon originally wanted to study psychiatry, a choice that reflected her deeply introspective and thoughtful personality. But destiny began to shift when her family moved to Italy. It was there that a photograph of Sharon wearing a swimsuit unexpectedly appeared on the cover of Stars and Stripes, a newspaper serving the American military community in Europe. And for the first time, Sharon Tate slowly began to realize the unusual kind of attention her beauty could attract, even though she still had no idea where that attention would eventually lead her life. Sharon Tate returned to Italy, not because she was certain she would succeed, but because deep down, she simply was not ready to give up on her dream. In 1962, the Tate family moved back to the United States, and this time, Sharon arrived in Los Angeles, the very heart of Hollywood. It was a city where thousands of young women arrived every year carrying dreams of becoming stars. But it was also a place where most of those dreams disappeared quietly into the shadows. Through Richard Beimer, Sharon connected with Harold Gefsky, a respected talent agent in the entertainment industry. After only one meeting, Gefsky saw something in Sharon that many others had failed to notice. He agreed to represent her. Soon, the first jobs began to appear. Television commercials, magazine photo shoots, small acting roles that almost nobody remembered. It was not Hollywood glamour yet, but they were the first real steps toward the world Sharon had once admired from a distance. The true turning point came in 1963, when Harold Gefsky introduced Sharon to Martin Ransohoff, the head of Filmways. After their meeting, Sharon signed a 7-year contract, the kind of opportunity countless young actresses could only dream about. But strangely, even after the door finally opened, Sharon still was not allowed to fully walk through it. She was considered for a leading role in Petticoat Junction, but producers ultimately felt she lacked confidence. The role went to someone else. Instead, Sharon appeared briefly in shows like Mr. Ed and the Beverly Hillbillies. It was not because she lacked talent. Martin Ransohoff simply believed Sharon was not yet ready for the public to truly see her. While her career remained hidden behind the curtain, Sharon's personal life became increasingly complicated. In 1963, she began a relationship with French actor Philippe Forquet. They became engaged quickly, but the romance collapsed just as fast. Constant arguments and emotional differences made it impossible for the relationship to survive. A year later, Sharon met Jay Sebring, a completely different kind of man. Calm, stable, sincere. Jay truly loved Sharon and wanted to build a future with her. But when he proposed, Sharon turned him down. Not because she did not care for him, but because Sharon understood one painful truth. If she chose love at that moment, she might have to let go of the Hollywood dream she had chased for so long. And this time, Sharon chose the dream. In 1964, she stood before an opportunity that could have changed her entire life. Sharon auditioned for The Cincinnati Kid alongside rising star Steve McQueen under legendary director Sam Peckinpah. It could have been the breakthrough she had been waiting for, but once again, the door closed. Both Peckinpah and Martin Ransohoff believed Sharon was still too shy and inexperienced to carry a major role. The part ultimately went to Tuesday Weld, and as if that disappointment was not enough, Sharon soon faced another rejection after auditioning for the role of Liesl in The Sound of Music. Two major opportunities disappeared within a short period of time, a cold reminder that Hollywood did not hand out success easily, no matter how beautiful or promising you were. Sharon returned to small television appearances. Brief roles in films like The Americanization of Emily and The Sandpiper barely made an impression in the massive world of Hollywood. No spotlight, no leading roles. Only quiet, almost invisible steps forward. But by late 1965, something finally began to change. Martin Ransohoff eventually gave Sharon her first leading role in Eye of the Devil. This was no longer just an opportunity, it was a real gamble. Sharon was cast alongside respected stars like David Niven and Deborah Kerr in a film that demanded emotional depth, not just physical beauty. She played Odile, a mysterious young witch with very little dialogue. The role forced Sharon to rely almost entirely on her eyes, her presence, and the emotions she could create on screen. At first, director Lee Thompson even prepared a backup plan in case Sharon failed after a few weeks of filming. But the opposite happened. Day by day, Sharon not only held her ground, she began making people see her in an entirely different light. As filming continued, something unexpected began to happen between Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski. What started as distance and uncertainty slowly turned into something far more personal. The line between the movie and real life began to blur, and before long, the two had fallen into a real relationship. After filming ended, Sharon moved to London to live with Polanski, marking a major turning point in both her career and personal life. At the same time, Jay Sebring, the man who had once proposed to Sharon, unexpectedly remained close to both of them. Despite his heartbreak, Jay formed a friendship with Polanski and stayed one of the most important people in Sharon's life. Years later, Polanski described Sebring as a lonely man searching for a sense of family, revealing just how emotionally complicated their relationship truly was. Soon after, Sharon returned to America to film Don't Make Waves alongside Tony Curtis. MGM heavily promoted her image in bikinis throughout the movie, turning her into Hollywood's new beach beauty. Audiences noticed her instantly, but Sharon herself felt deeply frustrated. Privately, she believed the role reduced her to nothing more than appearance and glamour. The film performed poorly, and Sharon later admitted she thought it was a terrible movie, a rare moment of honesty that revealed how dissatisfied she truly felt with Hollywood's treatment of her. Still, her public image continued to grow. A Coppertone advertising campaign made her face even more recognizable across America, while Roman Polanski's career was also rising quickly after being chosen to direct Rosemary's Baby. Although Polanski considered Sharon for the lead role, the part ultimately went to Mia Farrow. Even so, Sharon's appearances on set attracted major media attention, especially after photographs of her taken by Polanski appeared in magazines. By 1967, the media had begun declaring Sharon Tate Hollywood's next breakout star. Then came Valley of the Dolls, the film Sharon hoped would finally prove she was more than just a beautiful blonde actress. But behind the scenes, Sharon sensed danger. She privately admitted she disliked the script and feared the role might trap her inside the exact image she was trying to escape. On set, the pressure became overwhelming. Director Mark Robson constantly criticized her, and the media continued portraying her as shallow and untalented. Ironically, Sharon's character in the film was a woman valued only for her beauty, exactly how Hollywood was beginning to treat Sharon herself. But instead of fighting publicly, Sharon kept working quietly, determined to prove herself through performance alone. And for the first time, audiences slowly began to see there was far more behind Sharon Tate's beauty than anyone had expected. Amid the growing storm of criticism surrounding her career, Sharon Tate slowly began to disappear in a different way. Not because she was absent from Hollywood, but because people were no longer truly seeing her. Whenever her name appeared in magazines or interviews, it was almost always connected to beauty, sensuality, or glamorous photographs, rather than her actual talent. A public image was beginning to form around Sharon Tate, and it was not the image she wanted for herself. Soon after, Eye of the Devil was released in what felt like Hollywood's attempt to rebuild her reputation. MGM promoted Sharon heavily as one of the industry's most promising new stars. But despite the campaign, audiences remained distant, and critics were even colder. The New York Times described her performance as hauntingly beautiful, but emotionally empty. To many actresses, it may have sounded like praise. To Sharon, it felt painfully close to rejection. In an effort to show audiences who she really was, a short documentary titled All Eyes on Sharon Tate was released. And for the first time, viewers saw someone very different from the glamorous blonde Hollywood kept advertising. There were no dramatic poses, no carefully constructed image, just Sharon soft-spoken, sincere, and surprisingly self-aware. At one point, she openly admitted, "I don't fool myself. I can't see myself playing Shakespeare." It was not insecurity. It was honesty. Sharon never dreamed of becoming a grand, dramatic legend. What she truly wanted was far simpler: to become the kind of light, charming, comedic actress audiences genuinely loved, much like Carole Lombard. But Hollywood rarely allows people to become exactly who they want to be. Then came Valley of the Dolls, and everything exploded. The film became a massive cultural sensation, but it was also brutally attacked by critics. Reviews from publications like Newsweek and the New York Times described the cast as shallow, style-driven, and lacking real substance. Yet even among all the criticism, Sharon's presence stood out in ways people could not fully deny. The Hollywood Reporter called her the most likable part of the film. Even Roger Ebert, while critical overall, admitted Sharon possessed a magnetic quality on screen that was difficult to ignore. And perhaps that is what makes Sharon Tate's story feel so heartbreaking. By the late 1960s, she was becoming famous across Hollywood. People talked about her constantly. Photographers followed her everywhere, but almost no one truly understood who she was. She was admired but not recognized, seen but rarely heard. Behind the glamorous image, Sharon continued fighting quietly, not simply to become famous, but to prove she deserved to be taken seriously as an actress. At the same time, her personal life was entering a much more complicated chapter. Her relationship with Roman Polanski, which had begun cautiously during filming, quickly became the center of her world. In January 1968, the two married in London, in a ceremony that perfectly reflected the spirit of the era: glamorous, unconventional, and slightly rebellious. Sharon wore a modern short wedding dress, while Polanski chose a classic Edwardian-style suit. Visually, they seemed completely different, yet strangely perfect together. But behind the elegant photographs, the reality of their marriage was far more fragile. Sharon longed for emotional stability and genuine connection. Polanski, meanwhile, embraced freedom, unpredictability, and a lifestyle with very few limits. Slowly, an invisible distance began growing between them. Sharon often accepted Polanski's behavior, even his infidelity, as part of the compromise required to keep their relationship alive. She once told friends, half-jokingly, "Roman lies to me, and I pretend to believe him." It sounded playful on the surface, but underneath, it revealed something much sadder. Still, Sharon was not completely alone. One of the most important people in her life remained Jay Sebring, the man who had once loved her deeply but never truly left her side. Although Sharon chose Polanski, Jay stayed close as a loyal friend and constant emotional support. To outsiders, their relationship seemed confusing. But for Sharon, it represented something rare in Hollywood love without demands. As Sharon and Polanski settled into life between London and Los Angeles, they became central figures in one of Hollywood's most famous social circles. Their homes were constantly filled with artists, musicians, actors, writers, and strangers drifting through late-night parties that seemed endless. The atmosphere was exciting, but also dangerously open. For Sharon, this lifestyle reflected the spirit of the 1960s. Freedom, trust, and human connection. She welcomed people easily, believing openness was something beautiful. But not everyone shared that optimism. Some close friends quietly worried that Sharon and Polanski were living in a world with too few boundaries, a world where openness could slowly become vulnerability. When Sharon moved into the house on Cielo Drive, a home she lovingly called the Love House, that atmosphere only intensified. Friends came and went constantly. The home felt warm, alive, and full of affection. But beneath that warmth, something else was growing. The line between safety and danger was becoming harder to see. By late 1968, Sharon became pregnant with her first child. Photographs from that period show a softer and happier side of her, smiling while opening baby gifts, laughing with friends, and dreaming about the future. And perhaps that is what makes Sharon Tate's story so emotionally haunting even today. At her core, Sharon believed deeply in love, trust, and kindness. In a Hollywood world built on illusion, she remained surprisingly sincere. But sometimes, sincerity alone is not enough to protect someone from what is waiting outside the door.